Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, channel agents, welcome to the episode of Tatami Talk. My name is Juan. This is my co-partner Anthony. This is a Judo podcast for Judo players by two Judo players. So Anthony, how you feeling? I see you're still alive. You doing okay?
Right now I'm feeling fine, yeah. I think last episode I mentioned how I got COVID, and I've been having some lingering symptoms, basically, that come and go. It's been affecting my work, actually. So I would have to lay down throughout the day. And then obviously Judo, like, there's some breathing problems too, but that could have just be related to my asthma. Like every time I get sick, it takes a while for it to get better. But today I felt fine. I actually wanted to stay for Randori after we talked last today, but I had to run a bunch of errands for our barbecue tomorrow. And good thing I didn't stay because I went to BJJ yesterday, and I actually went pretty hard because I guess a head instructor there, he hasn't shown up in a while, I guess, because I heard he went to the police academy. So I haven't seen him in like before last week. I haven't seen him in like 8 months, basically. I did see him like come and go sometimes, like when I'm coming into the class, he's leaving kind of thing. But I haven't basically seen him in 8 months, and he was like, "Oh, you still come here?" Like he thought I quit. I'm like, "Yeah, I just only come to the afternoon class." But anyway, he was there, so we went pretty hard. Like he was like crushing me and stuff, but it was humbling. But yeah, it was nice to be able to train with him again and have him teach class. But yeah, so afterwards, as I was shopping, driving back, I was like, my body started aching. I'm like, man, good thing I didn't go to Randori today. So just had time to build back to it.
Yeah, I couldn't stay for Randori either today. Like I was there, and I did like one round, and I checked my phone because I get emails and messages throughout the day because of all the stuff that I have to watch over. And I got an important message. I was like, oh shit, I gotta leave right now. So I didn't get to say bye to anybody. I just had to get my stuff and go because that emergency happened. So it happens. Some weeks you get to train, some weeks you don't. But I got some extra training this week. I went to catch, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah,
but
I think I don't know if I mentioned it. I lost like 15 pounds from between the trip and COVID. I lost like 15 pounds. So I definitely was feeling off. But don't you love it when you come back from a holiday and then you have to slowly build back up the stamina? So, and the intensity of training.
No, I don't like that. No, I don't like that at all.
It was sarcasm.
Not a fun part.
It was sarcasm.
For all our listeners, Anthony's being sarcastic right now. All right. So our last episode, we talked about certain things and we had a viewer question.
Why don't we start with a question of whether I quit BJJ? Because I actually got it was just like literally a few hours before this episode. I got two messages from two different people asking me if I quit BJJ, and I think they were listening to one of the old episodes where I mentioned I'm thinking about it, thinking about quitting. But the answer is no, clearly, because I just said I went to BJJ yesterday. But the answer is no, but I did reprioritize its status in my priorities. I used to lift weights, run, train judo, and I literally train like at least once or twice a day, basically, of something like either as jiu-jitsu, judo, or whatever, and Sundays included. This is before COVID. But now with the way that my work schedule is, and just like I have other stuff I want to prioritize, like I said, learning guitar and Japanese, and then also what I talked about, how especially with the ecological approach thing we talked about, I'm reprioritizing it to I'm not going to drag my ass to BJJ when I'm sore as hell, or if I have a lot of work to do. I'm not going to stay up. I'm not going to go to BJJ, come back home and stay up late, work until like 1 or 2 in the morning to make up for it. So I'm no longer doing that, basically. So I'll be like, okay, I have a lot of work to do. I'm not going to go to BJJ today. Or I'm really sore and I want to go judo the day after, so I'm not going to go to BJJ today. So I think in the last 2 weeks, I went a total of 3 times, which is still pretty good, I think. But it's going to be on and off. It's because this last 2 weeks has been kind of quiet at work. So that's basically what it's going to be like going forward. Is BJJ is pretty low on my priority, basically, in life right now. And it's funny that after I decided that,
we don't know yet. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
He basically confirmed it yesterday when we went to class.
Okay.
That I'm supposed to get the blue belt. I guess, like you said, promotion. Because he was like, "Oh, I didn't know you still come here." And then I'm like, "Yeah, I just come to the afternoon classes. That's why I don't see you." And it's funny because my last jiu-jitsu club, I was there for 2 years and I didn't get a single stripe because I never showed up to the same class that the professor shows up at. So now I think I'm going to be a 5-year. 4.5-5 year white belt that's getting a blue belt. Yeah, so it's just interesting that after I reprioritize it, I'm going to be getting a promotion, but it's all right. Like I'm just showing up to practice my Nawaza, and I do feel like I'm getting better, even though I'm still bad on the ground. There's some habits I have to break, and I'm not talking about turtling, by the way. So, which is interesting because we're going to talk about turtling again later. About the tournament.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
About the tournament. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's one viewer question. Yes, Anthony is staying in the BJJ. He is keeping doing the jits. All right. So don't worry. You guys haven't lost him. He's still in your guys' system. All right. We had another viewer question ask us about the NFTs and about the Judo TV and stuff. And I was trying to help somebody. I was trying to help them out with their thing. But from there, it got another question from there. So, Anthony, can you read the question we got?
Yeah. So about the Judo TV thing, I'm sorry. I don't know what Juan said to you, but I personally can't help because my thing is still active until July. So I didn't get to see any of the menu options that you guys have about the subscription options. So my subscription ends in July, which I'll talk about later. But yeah, it ends in July. I found out. I went back and checked. If you listened to last episode. So after it expires, I'll be able to see what you guys are seeing. So there's that. And then the actual question is, have you guys also considered inviting some judokas every now and then to speak about their experiences, etc.? So I don't know what he means by, or he she means by judoka, because we've had Johnny's a judoka, Richard's a judoka. Ajax is a judoka, Dave is a judoka, Scotty's a judoka, Carrie's a judoka. Like, I don't know if they're talking about like Jimmy Pedro, Travis Stevens, like the white belt that I taught today that promoted it. Like, we've had judokas, but if your question is pertaining to like famous judokas, I think we answered this before, like Jimmy Pedro, Travis Stevens, Kayla Harrison, and what was Roddy Ferguson, like those kind of people. It's because if you type their name into Google and podcast or interview, there's already so many interviews out there of them. And I personally have listened to like 90% of them. So, and to be honest, they all asked the same question. Like, what was it like to win the bronze, this, that? And what do you think about BJJ? Like, do you think this throw is good for BJJ? Do you think Judo can ever catch up to BJJ's? Like, it's all the same kind of question. So I personally don't want to invite someone just because they're famous when I don't even have like good questions to ask them. And we did get a couple of requests, but how do you say it? Maybe I shouldn't say it, huh? Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Well, I'll get it with some of the requests that we get. So sometimes we do get requests from people's managers, people that are like helping people's careers that are up and coming judo players. And for us, like, we want to talk, it's kind of sound kind of weird, but we kind of talk to people like after the careers are done, because we want to talk about like how judo helped their lives, or what they're still doing in judo. We feel that if we interview someone that's too young, like a teenager, someone's in the cadets or the juniors, even someone asked us, or someone that's just starting out going to international, we don't want to put all that pressure on them of like, oh, I got to start doing media and stuff like that. We don't want to put pressure on people yet. We want you to still enjoy it and do well out there. And this is how I feel, is that if we start interviewing some of these young members and young people out there, we put extra pressure on them to do well. And I don't want that. I don't want to put pressure on them to do the best they can.
Yeah. I won't say which episodes they were, but there were some episodes where we were asked to interview those people just as a favor kind of thing. And I wouldn't say as a favor. I'm going to get like so much people misunderstanding again. We basically, we both had a split opinion on whether we should do the interview, basically. And it was easier for us to just do the interview. It's actually kind of obvious because it's actually the less popular view. Like the episodes, those interviews didn't do that well. And I'm leaving it up to you to figure out which ones they are, but it's usually for them to sell something. Right. And I guess in a way you can say it was a mutual benefit kind of thing. Like they're advertising their program or this and that. And I'm going to say it right off the bat. It's not the blind judo program interview. It's definitely not stuff like that. Cause I personally love that kind of stuff. So for me, I enjoyed spreading the word about that. But other times it's kind of like, I know that they're trying to advertise something that's not going to work out kind of basis. So,
and we accepted going back on that again. And this isn't criticism. Nobody happens. I understand life happens, stuff happens. We've agreed to interview certain people and then they've fallen out or fallen through. And I get it. We're not a huge podcast. Okay.
Well, very so it's like, do I want to skip the next training camp next week to like do an interview with this podcast that gets like 400 views, basically? Well, like 100 and something views on average on YouTube and like what, 400 on listening on the podcast audio version. So it's like, I understand, but still like, that's the reason I don't want to do it. So there's that. And then there's also the fact I don't want to, like I already said, I don't want to copy what everyone else is doing. So we want to do stuff from a perspective of recreational judo. Like we're both not going to the Olympics. We both don't have a super high, we're not world champions. We're not like national champ. Well, you were a Masters national champion, but so we want to talk about things from our perspective, like us normal human beings, which I think is more relatable to people, even though it's not always what people want to listen to. People always want to listen to like, I guess like Cinderella stories kind of thing, like success stories, how I broke my neck, but I was still able to win this tournament. And I'm like, okay, is that something you want to relate to? Cause I don't, I personally don't want to relate to that, but so.
Yeah. But with all that excuses right there, we are open to doing interviews with people. It just has to be the right time. There's to be the right moment, not the right moment, but it has to be like the right time for the interview for the person.
Yeah.
Okay? Like I said, I don't like interviewing kids. I don't like interviewing teenagers. I'm not really interested unless they really want to, an up and comer. I don't want to put pressure on people. That's my thing.
Yeah. Like we interviewed Liana, right? From Paralympic blind judo. Like that was an interesting perspective. How often do you see people interviewing blind judokas, right? Yeah. And see things from their perspective. So that's something I thought was really interesting to do. And one thing I talked about that we haven't done yet, because again, you got to keep in mind, me and Juan, like only our time it's hard to schedule time to do this. Now we got to interview someone else and schedule time with them too. And then especially if they're not West Coast, there's a time difference too. So
especially if they're in the US.
Or if they're not in the US. So that's a little difficult. And we don't make money from the podcast. We don't even play ads. So Dave Roman says you can afford a cheeseburger. We can't even afford like a soda. So
we can't afford anything.
Yeah. So we're not going to change our schedules around just to have someone sell their stuff to you, and what was I going to say? Oh, right. One of the interviews things that I wanted to do was actually interview small dojo owners and people who started programs from scratch. And I already named a couple of names. I'm not going to name it again because I don't want to say it again and then like not follow through. And then, basically I've just been busy. But that's something that I think would be interesting is because this is another reason why I don't want to interview popular people, because it's like people interview Travis Stevens and he's talking about how he can open a dojo, you got to charge more, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but you're Travis Stevens, like Juan over here can't open a dojo in New York City next to Shintaro. Like, imagine you opening a dojo right in.
Why would I do that? That's like the dumbest.
I know. Like, imagine you opening a dojo in New York City next to like Shintaro's, like, and Nkano's and all that stuff, or opening it like next to I don't know, like opening it next to some, but where it's a crowded space, and you're charging $300 a month, right? It's like, who the hell is Juan Rodriguez? Like,
what do you mean? I'm the co-host of Tatami Talk.
So I think it's more interesting to get a insight into people who you've never heard of that were able to succeed without doing shady stuff. So as far as we know.
Man, Anthony, you're always just making enemies for us, aren't you? And that's kind of a good part, because people do go say hi to Anthony and stuff. They still don't say hi to me, really, for some reason. They love Anthony. So go ahead, take all that heat, Anthony. Take it all, please do.
Yeah. One more thing about interviews is, I won't say it. Never mind. Like, I'm going to make a lot of enemies, but let's just say it's very clear. It's again those episodes that I talked about that we didn't really want 100% on board, or we had a divided opinion on it.
I'll say you.
No, we both had it. Sometimes I want to do it, you don't want to do it. Sometimes you want to do it, I don't want to do it. But it's like a marriage, like we compromise.
Mm-hmm. But it's about family togetherness.
Yeah, sometimes I know for a fact that people are answering the questions in a way that is half truthful. Does that make sense? Like, it's for show. So yeah. So again, it's like, wow, that guy actually does this, like, does that, like, yeah. It's like, no. What's a good example? Like, we've heard people not in the interviews, but we've heard people say like, oh yeah, I was national champion once or 3 times, and then you find out they were like a junior national, like when they were like 7 or 8 or something in some country. They were like, yeah, we know a couple people like that, and then like they skipped out the details, or so that's what I'm talking about. And I'll shut up now before I say even more stuff that will get us in trouble. What? Now we're never going to get sponsors and famous people on the show.
The more you talk, the more I just see the sponsorship money just fly away from us. Like, we are never going to make money off this. We will never be able to afford cheeseburgers with this. Okay. Just like, we'll never get anything, because he hates NordVPN. He doesn't play video games on his phone. He's not, what's that? We don't get a Candy Crush subscription, or what's that other one? League of Legends or something.
League of Legends. Yeah. I hate League of Legends. So
look at this guy again. So with that, it's a great question. We just read it because, we probably talked about this a long time ago, like maybe episode 25 or 50 already. And we're on episode 81. This is, I believe. So yeah, you may have not heard it, or you may have heard it, but then forgot it, because we've been doing this. This is our 3rd year at this. So, 3rd year, that's crazy. 3 years of doing this. So
yeah. And also the truth is, like, we already mentioned it, but the truth is basically not many people want to be interviewed by us unless we explicitly ask. So
yeah, we're not that famous. Not yet. But with that, let's get to some judo news now. All right. So some stuff is happening in judo world. So we talked about last episode. We did a little rundown about what happened at the World Championships. We gave our thoughts on it, what was happening, what was going on, how it was run, all stuff. So something that happened that was very interesting. And we talked about referees not making calls, or make the right calls, or just make the call, was that when Teddy Riner was in the finals for gold, he fought
Tasoev.
That's how you say his last name?
I think it was Tasoev. Yeah.
Yeah, Tasoev. That's how you say his last name. So and he fights for or he's one of
Russia?
those like no country. I think he's Russia, but it has to be like those
no country because
no
of
country.
The sanctions, yeah.
Yeah, he's one of those no country guys. Because he's a country that from IJF. Yeah, some shady stuff. All right. So during the finals, and I don't know what minute it was or how far it was, but Inal, that's how you say his first name, I believe. I'm not sure, not 100%. So he gets and he does that. It's like the judo. It's like the judo tilt. It's the it's
Tsukuinage. It's
Tsukurinage. Tsukurinage. He does Tsukurinage, a good Tsukurinage. Okay, not like some ugly one or anything. It's a really good Tsukurinage, forcing Riner to his back, to his side, and to his back. It should have been called Wazadi.
That's where I disagree.
I know that's where he disagrees. To me, I think it should have been Wazadi. Okay, that's my opinion. The refs gave nothing. The side refs gave nothing. The video refs gave nothing. They continued. Okay, of course, people in the stands are mad because it looked like a throw. Okay, and I've seen some videos of it because I was doing research on this when this came out. To me, it looked like a throw from some of the angles. All right, which the video refs, and they always talk about the video refs, let the video refs do their job and call it. They continued. It was called nothing. They continued. Teddy then threw him with Teddy threw him to his side.
It was something. I don't remember what it was.
I can't remember what the throw was, but I know he landed on his side and he got the Wazadi and he won the match. So Teddy Riner became the 12-time world champion now. Mm-hmm. Well, the IGF came out on, what was it, like Wednesday or something? Or
it was immediately following the. Okay, before we continue, we're not going to discuss whether it's a score or no score. Okay, because we already talked about that before. I think it's not a score. You think it's a score. All I will say is, if you think that's a score, go watch the IJF European Judo Union referee seminar where they go through a bunch of these scenarios, and it's very like there were a couple scenarios where they say there's not enough control in this to be counted as a throw. So that's my opinion on it. But you think it's a score? So
I thought it was a clean throw. Personally, I thought it was a good reversal.
I think he lost control. He just kind of, I think this would have been a score like 2-3 years ago. But anyway, let's go. We're talking about a response, the IJF's way that they responded to it. So immediately after the tournament, they had like a session at the end with the head rules guy that runs the IJF referee seminars, and he basically justified why it's a throw, why it wasn't a score, because it was not an identifiable technique, which is like, come on, like think about it from two perspectives, right? Okay, let's say it wasn't a score, right? If it wasn't a score, that was not the reason it wasn't a score. The reason it wasn't a score was because there was no control. That was a better reason for you to use. And then let's say that it was a score, then why would you lie about it? Like there's just a better way of justifying it, you know? Like it just totally blew my mind that was the reasoning they used. Go ahead. No,
I was going to say, well, just to get to the point of what we're talking about is that if you heard or didn't hear, because it's going to be out for over a week now by the time this episode comes out, but it's a big topic. A lot of people are talking about it. So the IGF decided that in review of the tape, looking at it again, Putin calling, I'm not saying he did, Putin calling, that they decided to make him to declare that it should have been a score.
You skipped the step. You skipped the step.
What step did I skip?
They said it might have been a score. Afterwards.
Oh, the might have part. Yeah. My bad.
They reviewed it and it said it might have been a score. Like, what the hell does that mean? Like, like it could have been a score, and then a couple days after, they're like, okay, it was a score.
Yeah.
So it's just a chain of like incompetence, right?
Not incompetence. It's just verification. It is verifying what happened.
So why couldn't you verify? So whoever the hell was deciding this stuff, why wasn't he reviewing the VAR on there, right?
Oh no.
Well, so they basically said it might have been a score, and then said it is a score, and then now they're saying we apologize, and now we have double gold medals. So
yeah, so that's the craziest happened. That's the crazy. I don't know if he's getting a gold medal or not. Can get in the mail. So they're saying that it possibly was a score. It was a score. Blah blah blah. Yeah, you know what? We messed up. We have two, count it, 1, 2 each knee. 2 heavyweight champions for 2023 heavyweight division. So Teddy Riner still got his 12-year, and Inal got his first world championships like a month later. Okay,
I can't. What do you say? I can't express enough how messed up that whole chain of events are, from the beginning of what I said to like that. It's just like, how do you mess up so bad? You ever have that little hole and then like you try and fix it and it gets bigger, and then you try and patch it, you do something even worse to make it worse, instead of just leaving it. Like,
yeah. No, it's like when you spear some grape juice on like a white carpet, and you're like, oh, I gotta get. So you start scrubbing it, it gets bigger, and you're scrubbing some more, it gets bigger, scrubbing some more, and it's like it's faded a little bit, but it's gotten bigger still.
I mean,
So-
the only other time I remember of that happening, like double gold, was that All Japan tournament. The weight was it All Japan weight class tournament? I think so. The Kodokan Cup, where the Osaikomi thing was messed up. They messed up the call, and then the guy lost the position, so they couldn't revert back to that position. So when at the end they messed up, they're like, okay, it's only fair to give gold to both people in the end. So that I understand, right? Because they messed up a thing on the Osaikomi. And remember, this whole event messed up. This is the whole reason that event is now only that event, weirdly enough. You now have to wear a blue and white gi because the blue and white gi was blending together. So the white gis were blending together and they could not tell a difference between the positions on Osaikomi.
The identity of which was on which side. Yeah.
Yeah. So that I could see, right? Giving them double gold. But in this case, it was you either messed up this call or you didn't. And if you did mess up the call, it's already too late. Because remember, all the IJF seminar rules and the coaching rule seminars we've been to, they're like, once both athletes step off the mat, you can't like it's done, even if it's
supposed to be. Yes.
And now here it's like, it's funny because it happened at a local level where we got asked for a rematch a couple of times after we both step off the mat. And then now at the IJF level, it's like, what the hell? So I think it would have been fair for them to just, if they really wanted to like fix it up after that first 3 mess ups where they say, okay, it's actually a score, just have them fight again. that would only be fair.
It brings up more questions like, okay, so if they got double gold, should we bring back the 2 bronze medalists, have them fight it out for second then?
Yeah, it's just this is why it's so stupid, right? It is so freaking stupid. I just have no words for how stupid this whole situation is. And then it's like, okay, what about all those other times you messed up the calls? Like back in 2000, if you guys remember Shinohara, Uchimata Tsukashi duet, and there was a wrong call. They never admitted it was a wrong call, by the way. It was a wrong call to give the gold to Dulet, and Shinohara got silver. Okay, are you going to give Shinohara his gold now? What about that girl that Dari Belodid did the double hair pull on? Like, what about that? Like, what about Maruyama versus Abe, the shitty ass Shido calls?
Hey, like, that was the right call. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. That was the right call right there. Someone owes me a 6-pack.
It's just still. Like, okay, so why was it? What now? They have to explain why was it this match? Like, to undo all the fuck ups, they should come out and explain why was this match the one that they did all this for, right? Because otherwise, it's just like I know Dave Roman and you were just said it like Putin called. Like, I know you're I know you're kidding, but like, geez, like it does make it seem like that way. If you it's like all of a sudden this thing happened, you know, like so that's my I don't know.
So that's a big thing that's happening in judo news right now. You probably heard about it already. You probably have your own opinion, but if you don't know, now you know.
That's why I don't stay up watching this crap anymore. Why I'm not going to pay for the Judo TV thing when it renews. So
sad. So sad. So in some other interesting judo news, was it the IGF or it was the European Judo Union released their referees test online for you to take. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. So if you want to test how good you are and see if you deserve that pocket patch to take is it the, it's the European Union
Judo Union.
Their Judo Union?
Yeah. I think it's on their website. Yeah. I'll post a link in the description if it's still up. Yeah. So yeah. It's
so if you want to test your
skill, that referee online test. Yep.
So what do they have on it? Have you taken it yet or looked at it?
I haven't taken it yet because I have been busy and sick. So I didn't want to take it while I'm like coughing, sneezing, that kind of stuff, or have a headache. So, I mean, I wouldn't go referee if I wasn't feeling that well. Why would I go take a referee test when I'm not feeling well? You know, and then after you see the questions, then it kind of ruins the whole thing, right? So I wanted to take it while I had time to sit down and like look at it slowly. So,
well, this is interesting because this can let you see what they're being asked, what's required of them, what kind of questions are they have to answer. Is it a video thing? You watch a video, give your answer to it. Is it multiple choice? Is it read the question, then you type in something. But this gives you an insight to what the referees have to do and what they have to know to become a referee. Because I know all of us sometimes, like every sport, that the referee's blind. That referee doesn't see that. How do you not see that? You know, it's like there's always going to be people saying that. But this is one way to test your own skill.
Yeah. So the thing, if you haven't taken I haven't taken this one, but I've taken the IJF one where it doesn't score you, but they have different scenarios and you pick. It's very clear that it's clear why they had to view it from different angles. And I forgot who told us this, but the IJF actually bought the what do you call it?
Camera system. The
camera system from the NFL, right? That has the 360 degree thing. Have you seen it? The Tokyo World Championships and the Tokyo Olympics, that whole 3D VAR system thing, that was from the NFL. That was the first time they used it. And that's why I was like, if you have that, how are you going to get the wrong call? I'm going to say, because when I watch it now if you pay for Judo TV, what I've seen there's a front camera and there's a back camera for us. So, and sometimes you'll see taking a test, the front and the back camera, which is what they provide you. It's very clear certain angles you can't see anything. So again, I know the referee seminar is very long, but I really think people, if they're interested in this kind of stuff, they should watch it, because you see not just the camera angles and how the close calls can be called differently. And it's just, you get to see how the referees justify certain calls. And it's like, even if you don't agree with it, it's like you get to see their train of thought, and then you get to see how they go totally against that train of thought in reality when a tournament
what they're told to do. It's one thing, it's what you're told to do, but in the moment, what your heart says and stuff, or what you think. But it's human. It's all human. And the only way, and this is going to be like talking about the robots we talked about last time, I think, or it was a conversation we both had together or something. The only way you're ever going to change is if we get robot refs that just see everything in black and white. You know, as long as there's humans in it, there's always going to be human error. There's always going to be heart in that. There's always going to be a mind, a thought about something. Because we joked about it, and going back with the Teddy Riner thing, is like, it's like when you face Teddy Riner, it's like you have to beat. That's a whole thing. Like, you want to be the champion, you got to beat the champion. You can't just judge his decision and champion. You have to knock him out or submit him. You have to beat the champ. So if you want to beat Teddy Riner, I need a clean throw to beat Teddy Riner. It can't be a little half throw or Wazadi or something. It definitely couldn't be a Yuko or Koka. Like, you have to like really throw him to get the win. But the rules state this. This is what should be happening. It shouldn't be that, oh, well, if I'm going to fight Clarice, I have to really like dominate her to beat her. No, if I get her with a Wazadi, I should win the match. Yeah. So it's just in the future. They want to have robots doing reffing, I bet. It's what the PFL was doing during their off season that people got confused about. I got confused about too. Is that they were doing CompuStrike, and they were putting that out there for people to look at. Like, the computers were analyzing the videos and showing like what were legit strikes, what weren't, compared to what the refs were looking at, or the judges were looking at. I mean, I think it would be cool to have something like that for Judo. I think judging whether they fell on their side or not with control is easier than judging how hard how effective a strike was. I guess with a strike, you can see how fast a fist is traveling to compute the power and whether it landed in a certain spots. But anyway, the referee seminar, I can't remember exactly which instances I saw, but sometimes their explanations feel like, when you in high school English class where you had to write essays on or read other people's essays, interpretation of people's literary works. Like, the author was trying to convey like the darkness and humanity, or it sometimes looks like, and then the author's just like, no, I didn't say anything about that. Like, sometimes it feels like the rest are reverse engineering a story to fit to fit what they want it to be called. So, it's like how I was like, I gotta get 1,000 words on this thing. If the A can be like adding every little word I could in there.
Yeah. So sometimes it does feel like, I guess you can interpret it like that, but it can also be interpreted this way. And then that's when you hear the guy saying, can we not agree? Can we agree? Yes. No.
A score.
Let me know what the French think. Like,
a score or no score? A score? A score? Okay. We must move on. We must agree. Do we agree? Yes. We must move on.
Okay. So sometimes it does feel like that, because I don't blame them, because I'm like, what else are you going to do? Right. Because So some of those calls are really, really tight. The what could have happened. But it's like this guy was thinking about countering him, but he couldn't. So he stepped back and he was going to do this, but he couldn't. I'm like, how the hell do you can't, can you read his mind through the screen? Like,
no, whether it's his toe placement, I could see which direction he was going to go.
Man, it's like, those Chinese palm readings, like, reading their toes to see what they were thinking. So.
All right. So yeah, this is a really cool thing that they put out there. If you're interested in doing it, do it. Let us know how you did. Like Anthony will take it. He'll let me know how he did. We'll let the audience know how he did because I ain't taking it. That's too much pressure for me. I'm okay being a coach and a side ref at local tournaments. I'm good with that. I don't know about the IGF one if I can handle it. Because even me, I would be like, I don't know. Side refs, what do you guys think? I'll be tapping my ear. Hello, everybody there? Hello, someone talk to me real quick. Tell me if this is Wazadi or Ippon. Tell me, please. Do you want to, we kind of skipped over it, but do you want to talk about the local tournament we had?
Yeah, I mean, it was good to segue because I wanted to talk about a call I contested throughout the whole tournament. So, so yeah,
as some of you, if you're from the LA area or from our local Judanshika and stuff, so Nanka had their late. It was their spring tournament, but it was all the way in summer already. But so we're joking around calling it the late spring Nanka tournament, and they were implementing some newer things in this one. So one thing is that we're starting to use smooth comp more, which is great. I love using smooth comp. We're doing a lot more of a satellite weigh-in, so you don't have to come in super early in the morning and weigh in. One thing I like that they were doing that I wasn't sure if they did or not. I heard they did it sometimes, but not during every match. But I don't want to say that because I don't know. I wasn't there. Is that so? If you weighed in, you did satellite weigh in. When you get to tournament, when they call up your matches, they're going to weigh in your group, and you could only. I
didn't see any of that happening. So
okay, you're supposed to only be 1 kilo over. 1 kilo is about 2 pounds, 2 pounds. Don't get me with the math. 2 pounds. So if you weighed in like me, I fight 90 kilos. I can only be 91 kilos, which would be 198 point something. So I could weigh no more than 200. Okay, but I'm assuming that they would do like maybe a half pound for the gi or something. I assume. So that was one interesting thing that they were going to do, and they do the times. So I have an argument about the times. Which one do you want to talk about first? Your contestant or my time? My thing we've been mad about.
Let's talk about the time. Let's talk about time. Yeah. Okay.
So to make it easier for people, they give you a time frame of when you're going to start competing. Now your time may get moved up sometimes. You know, a match might end up early, so you're cutting down time. Most of the time, it's going to go later. When we did, was it Golden State Open? Most of us got pushed like an hour, almost 2 hours back. Most of us, like no one actually fought at their exact time. Winter Nationals was great. It was very close to our time, so it ran really smoothly. But stuff happened, especially on my mat. There was a guy that was killing time a lot that should have gotten called, but again, didn't get called.
You're talking about Golden State Open, not Winter Nationals.
Yeah, that's Golden State Open.
Yeah.
Was that Golden State Open? Yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that was Golden State Open.
Okay, so with this one of our players, and I don't care if people get mad about it or not, but one of our players was scheduled for one time. Then out of nowhere, he gets an alert on his phone, or he looks at his phone thing, and his match got moved up 2 hours. It didn't get moved up a few minutes, a half hour, 1 hour. It got moved up 2 hours. Even if I was planning to go to the tournament and I'm an adult, I don't know if I would go to the tournament 2 hours before. I would most likely go an hour to an hour and a half before. I wouldn't even be going to a tournament 2 hours before. Now, I understand that they might think that people should be there all day or should be there preparing, but I don't think people should be going to this tournament. If my fight time is 3 p.m., I'm not getting there at 12. I'm going to get there around maybe 1:32 to warm up and go fight. The whole thing about putting these time things there is so that people can move in and out. It's going to be less crowded, easier to plan your day, easier to get in and out, and to get more adults to compete. Because one of the problems with adults is that we don't want to stay there all day. I'm knocking my shit. We don't want to stay there all day. I don't want to go in at 8 a.m, weigh in, fight at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock at night. Okay. So that's one thing about smooth comp that I like, that it gives these set times. So one of our players got the alert and he couldn't make it. He called our head instructor, Sensei Philippe, about it. He called me about it. I contacted you about it. And you tried to contact the the ref, not the ref,
the table. I just talked to the table.
Yeah. He talked to the table, and they're just like, "Hey, tough shit. All right, it sucks. Okay, whatever." And you told me that actually other people that were in his bracket, there's multiple people that missed out that didn't.
No, they were there. They were there.
But they were there. That's
they're
cheap.
all there.
You lie.
I'm not lying. They were all there. I told you that. You just want to believe what you want to believe.
You told me that there were people missing. Don't change the narrative.
I said people were missing.
Don't try to gaslight me.
No, I said there were people missing.
Don't try to gaslight me.
There were people from that city that starts with a G that's not Gardena that they were missing because I think they heard about the weighing thing, Matt side weigh-in thing. So I think they were missing because of that. Because multiple times they called these people's names up and then they're like, "Oh yeah, they're in the parking lot," and we're like there for like 10 minutes. And it's like they're not in the parking lot. Just like shut up.
What parking lot? Their house parking lot. But that's just something that I had a little gripe about, me personally, that if people were there, that's great. That's fantastic. It's amazing. I don't believe it. But I was upset about that, moving somebody's time up 2 hours. That's crazy to me. Just moving up to it. That's just nuts. And let me know how you guys feel about it. If you would be okay with your time being moved up 2 hours, not moved back, moved up.
I can see why you're upset. Like, it's a local tournament, right? It's not like a big tournament where people from San Francisco are driving down and stuff. But if it's a local tournament, which by the way, I think we did have people from the Bay Area driving down from this tournament, which if you're doing that, then you what?
Nothing. No.
Oh,
who said that?
From the Bay. So if they're coming down from the Bay Area, people are going to a lot more time to show up, carpool, because there are kids competing in the morning and stuff. So that's not going to be a problem in general for most of them anyway, unless for whatever reason you decide to come yourself. But when you're local, 2 hours is pretty much enough time from anywhere in LA to drive there. So once you get the alert that you're going to go in like what, 2 hours? Like 3 hours. At that point, it was like 2 hours, right? So
you wouldn't get an alert. You just get an alert that your time got changed.
Yeah. When did he get that? That's my question. When did he get the alert?
I don't know.
Yeah. So because
look at you.
That's what I'm saying. Boy. So, I mean, I don't think they moved it up until there was like 2 or 3 hours before. And the problem was that he didn't mention was he was out of state. That's why he couldn't make it. So why would you plan a trip out of state on the same day that you're going to compete in tournament? I just don't know.
See, this is why we can't get sponsors. Look at this guy. This is why we can't get sponsors. Okay.
I don't know. And it's like, we always complain about how tournaments always last long. The times aren't on time. They always get pushed back.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you complain about getting moved up now? Like, if
it was old school and I'm there waiting at 8 a.m, I would love to get pulled up 2 hours. But if I'm having a set time, I have to fight like at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and I plan out my day of how I'm gonna get out there, what time I get out there and stuff. And I get moved up 2 hours. I hope I can get out there.
How much time do you allocate before you show up to the airport on the flight? I
don't fly, I drive.
Yeah. So it's usually an hour or 2 hours, right? So yeah, that's what I see why, but for me, it's like I'd rather they move up than move it back. And my problem mostly had to do with the table I talked to. I was just explaining it, and I get it. They snapped really quick. Let's just say they gave me really poor attitude. When I was just like, "Hey, this guy just called me. He said he can't make it. Is there a chance that you can move it?" And they cut me off and just gave me attitude and said, "No, it's his fault. He should have done this." I'm like, geez, like, what the hell is your problem? You moved it up 2 hours. He should have checked in the morning. And I was like, you didn't move it up in the morning. Oh, it doesn't matter. He should have been here. I was just like, I get it. You deal with difficult people all day. So I give them a pass for it. But it was like, yeah, I still think it's fine. Like, I'd rather than move it up than move it back. That's the way I see it. And
so that was my complaint.
We talked about this before. There's no way it's gonna be on time unless they because you can't do anything about injuries, right? There's for safety reasons, you can't do anything about injuries. But you can do this. You can increase the runtime, increase the match time, and then do it like a runtime kind of thing. And I also talked about skipping all the bullshit bowing shit. Like go to a tournament, time how long it takes for them to do the whole bowing, like the referee coming on, walking around the mat, bowing to the previous referee, bowing on into the mat, then the other competitor bowing in. Like, time that. Just time it. Now multiply that by however many hours, like how many times. They're not going to swap referees every match, right? So let's just ignore the swapping referee thing. Just time that and multiply that by the amount of matches that they have. That's how much time you just wasted.
If you want to talk about wasting time stuff, then we talk about bowing. I know now we're going on a tangent about something else, people. I'm sorry. But it's the whole thing of how when I took my referee's course and stuff, you like give them that little hand signal to bow to come onto the mat as they come inside the fighting area, and then bow to each other, step forward and fight. Okay. Yep. Well, I know that because of religious stuff, because of IJF rules, you don't have to bow coming onto the mat. I know you don't have to do that. Okay. I know you can just step up to the mat and just walk on, but you have to bow to your opponent because you're actually bowing to somebody. That's the only thing they enforce. But there are so many refs out there that still will like enforce the bow to the mat thing. And they'll like to be, this is a little crazy, but I've seen it still to be like, go get off the mat, do it properly. And they're just like doing that. People are just like, oh, okay. They don't know what they're doing. It's because some coaches don't enforce that because it's not supposed to be enforceable. But you get these refs that are old school. They're like, no, bow properly. Or no, you bow when I tell you to bow. And they give them the hand gesture. Okay, like now bow. Yeah, now come forward. That bow too. Again.
Well, and also when takes up time. When there's no cameras and they have the side refs, they make you like if you walk in front of the side refs, they make them they yell at them and tell them to go back and go around behind the side refs. It's like, what was the point of that? Like we really like what was the point of that? Like, I understand it's like maybe disrespectful or whatever, but like what was the point? It will go much faster if you just have people walk directly onto the edge, bow, walk in the middle, bow, hajime, and then that's it. And then also the referee, when they swap, just swap the referee out. And then, like I said, increase the round time and then just have it at running time. You know what I'm saying? And only pause it if there's a controversial thing where you have to stop the time and they have to look at the replay or whatever. But otherwise, it's mate, get up, hajime, go again. So you don't stop the round time. So make it like a 7 minute round or 6 minute round instead of 4 minutes. Like
forever. Oh, make it a 10 minute round. Why not?
You think it's forever, but then if you make it like you don't stop the time in between getting up and all that stuff, it's not that long. That's probably how much it is. But the point is, when you make it more predictable how long the match would last, then there will be less delays. That's basically it. So then the times that you give people can be more accurate, right? So that was that, and yeah.
And now, what did you have a problem with at the time?
So the other thing that delays calls, which I'm guilty of, that's why I want to talk about it, because I don't want it to. I in hindsight, basically, okay. So this is what happened. So Scotty, who's been on the podcast, was fighting a BJJ black belt, I believe, and he was doing a really shitty tomoe. I shouldn't say shitty because he did win with it. Like he was doing a tomoe nage that basically pulls the guy onto a side. Like there's no lift. He just like pulls the guy to the side. So he did it twice and scored a Wazari. And the first one was I saw it from my coaching chair. I clearly saw it. And then the second one, I did not see it from my angle. And then also Jose, who was sitting next to me, he was like, how's that a score? And Scotty's like, what the hell? That was not a score. So I contested it. And then there were like the other sensei, which is Sensei Juan Montenegro from OC Judo. He was like, that was a score. And then the refs was like, I think one of them thought it was a score and one of them thought wasn't a score. So I was like, can you like look at it? And then this tournament had cameras, by the way. So they looked at it and basically what happened was the video got cut off at the end. I don't know what happened, but they cut off the video and they kept like, they're like, get out of the way. Let me watch. And then it's just like, they cut it out. And then someone behind them was like, hey, I don't know if it matters, but I caught the whole thing on video. I'm like, yeah, let me see it. And I was like, I know the refs aren't allowed to look at it. And then they're like, yeah, we're not going to look at it. I'm like, okay. And then I just looked at it and I was like, oh, okay. From this angle, it's clear that Scotty got scored on. I'm like, I'm sorry about that. Like, okay, let's just move on. But it's just like, I think that's another rule that needs to be like, adjusted, because if there's a scenario like that happens, then what do you do? Let's say that guy no one recorded the video. What do you do then? Right. But I was wrong.
Whatever the ref says goes. That's just that's how it's always been.
Yeah, but that's how, So it's just like, in this case, it resolved it completely, right? Because I saw it. And in hindsight, I mean, I kind of knew it at the time, but what I did was wrong. Basically, I should not have contested it. I should have just, because I held up the tournament and I didn't realize that until later because I was so focused on it. Even if it was not a score, like let's say Scotty deserved to not win. It's just, Sensei Philippe says this all the time in his coaching clinic. No one gives a shit. Like, basically, no one gives a shit. It's a local tournament, right? No one cares. Like, I just held up like 400 other people. So I guess I apologize for that. I shouldn't have done that. And it's just, now I understand also why people contest it, because you're like so sure that your athlete just got screwed over, kind of thing. So there's that too. But next time, like I learned from this, and next time I'm just not going to contest it, because it's a small local tournament. No one gives a shit. I'm holding up everyone else's time. And speaking of, and the only reason I got to reflect on this was before this whole thing happened. There was I was coaching the kids. Actually, Eric was coaching the kids, and again, a dojo from a city that starts with a G. That's not Gardena.
Want trouble, don't you?
They
want.
They contested a toqueta, basically. And then they showed him the video, clearly showing that it was a toqueta, and he was trying to argue his way out of it. So, what do you do at that point? You know, so that whole thing took like, I want to say 5 to 10 minutes, somewhere around there, where we stopped, they argued, they watched the video, figured out how to do the video thing, and then he was arguing, like, so that held the whole mat up for like 10 minutes. So I don't want to be that guy. So yeah, that's that.
All right. So that's just our little take on our little local tournament that no one gives a shit about. But it's just where things start out. You know, you try something here and you can bring it to the bigger things, especially here for Nanka. We're a really big Yudanchikai out here. We hold the Winter Nationals every year. So it's like the stuff that happens in these little tournaments, the local ones, is what's going to come and we're bring up to the main one, like to the Winter Nationals, which is our big one here in the West Coast and stuff. So it's just little things that we hope to get improved. Like I hope we don't sound like we're totally whining right now. Some people might sound like we are, but it's just things that we have concerns about. Okay.
One more thing that happened. We did talk about it at the beginning of the episode, so I feel like we should bring it up now, even though we're running a long time. But one of our athletes who got gold, he beat a BJJ black belt, and I didn't even know he was a black belt until you told me afterwards. But the guy had a Gracie Baja patch on, and he came up to us after he actually beat him with Osaikomi, believe it or not. He used a turnover I taught him in the beginner's class and then countered him and pinned him. But
humble brag.
Yeah. So he came up to us afterwards and was like, man, I thought it would be easy to take the back. I'm paraphrasing. All right. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, man, I thought it would be easier to take the back, like basically when you turtle, or flatten out, but it's harder than I thought, he said. I'm like, yeah, like just like in the past episode, we said it's like, it's not false that the back's exposed, but I think people exaggerate how easy it is to just take the back when you when the back's given to you doesn't mean it's easy. Plus he got pinned. Excuse me.
Well, when he said, so it's one thing that I always say is about is people don't understand. And one thing about judo is that we are action based. We are action. So we're not like BJJ where you can just turtle up and you have all this time to you, all these fancy things to get in the guy to take it back. In judo, if I turtle up or I scrunch down on here and you're trying to take my back and there's nothing happening, the ref would be like, all right, nothing's happening. Mate, stand back up. And that's one thing that frustrates some BJJ guys when they come to actual judo tournaments. At a dojo, when you have time just doing newaza randori and stuff, you have tons of time to do all your crazy things, try out your positions. You have tons of time because you're just playing around. But at a tournament, we're real. It's action.
In this case, I think even if you gave that guy 10 minutes, I don't think he would be able to turn the guy over. So,
really?
It's not jabbing. It's just different rules. It's a different game. So, but also he got pinned. And I guess again, it's different rules because in BJJ, there's no pin to win. So he probably plays off his back a lot. And then he tried to frame, and he did frame on the guy's neck, on Yamil's neck, but that doesn't stop him from being pinned. So
yeah.
That just goes back to what we said: different rules, different win conditions, different incentives for you to do different things. So, that's what I want to say. And that's the symptoms are coming back. That's what I'm also going to say too.
All right. So it's like Anthony said, different game. So let's get to we've had this really long opening part right here, which is in I think our main part today is not going to be that long, really. I think the first part's longer than our main part today. So our main thing that we're going to talk about today, our partial of our main discussion to grow judo, is that we like to talk about other things that are also in grappling. We talk about BJJ, we talk about sambo. So one thing that Anthony loves and that I'm not super into, but I enjoy it, is sumo. And as some of you may or may not know, there's a new show on Amazon. It's a Japanese show. It's on Amazon. I think you can watch it in America too and stuff, because that's how I watched it. It was no problem. It's called Sanctuary. So it's a sumo show. It's called Sanctuary Psyche, which I believe means sanctuary. It's sanctuary, I believe, which is like is like how in Los Angeles we have the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. It's like it's a funny thing like that. So the show's about it's a guy. He's down and out. His name was Oze. That's how you pronounce his name?
Oze, yeah.
Oze.
Yep.
Oze is how you pronounce his name. Okay. So there's a guy, Oze. He's kind of a Yankee, kind of a bad boy and stuff. He's going through some hard times with his family. And he used to be a judo player. That's kind of interests me when someone told me that when the show first came out. I thought it sounded really cool. Then I found out he used to be a judo player. Like, oh, it's going to sound pretty interesting. Because this is what happens sometimes. Sometimes a guy
was like a junior champion or something in Japan.
He was a high school champion, they said.
High school champion, yeah.
High school champion.
Which is a pretty big deal. For those who don't know, that's a pretty big deal in Japan.
Yeah, he was a high school champion. And I think that's why his sumo instructor scouts him out and stuff. So he's going through some hard times. Throughout the show, you find out that his family owned a sushi restaurant. Something happened. They lost their restaurants. Why I assume he had to also stop doing sumo. That's my assumption. But
stop doing judo. Stop doing judo.
Yeah. Stop doing judo. Oh, my bad. I'm going to get this confused a lot, guys. So please hang with me. All right. But so he's kind of a bad boy, Yankee, got the hair, the big jacket and stuff. And people don't know what Yankee is. So Yankee is it's like a bad boy. It's like a gangster. It's almost like if you know Latino culture, like kind of like a cholo kind of guy. All right.
Or what was like Grease? Those little
a greaser. Oh yeah. Totally a greaser. Yeah.
Like John Travolta and that gang of boys, like Grease. Yeah.
They call themselves the T-Birds, I believe. Yeah. So he's going through hard times, and the guy that runs a stable, what was his name? His name was
sumo stable is like a dojo, basically.
Yeah. It's like his sumo sensei came to him. He said, "I know you're going to like I know you're having some hard times and stuff. I'm sad that you quit judo. I thought you had some skill in there. It was really fun to watch." And that's how he gets him. Hey, if you need to make some money, how about doing sumo instead? So after thinking about some hard times, and he's the guy's a bad boy, but he's like he kind of has a good heart. It's like he does things where it's kind of a bully to people. But it's because he's trying to do some right things.
You can tell he's acting out basically because of what's going on at home, basically.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So joins the sumo stable. Okay. Goes to Tokyo, joins the sumo stable. And he's trying to do all these like street fighting things he used to do. He does a lot of judo things. And the first thing is that he has skill, and he's won tournaments before, or small tournaments before. But this is just off his strength, his judo, and just street fighting and grit. And the whole thing is about him becoming a real sumo player, And there's one line that I don't like that much, but so there's one line where his sumo sensei tells him that street fighting and judo stuff won't work in sumo. You need to learn how to fight sumo. I'm like, I did it, sir. I disagree with that. There are many judo things that they do in sumo. There are many judo throws they do in sumo. It's just different hand placement, and it's called something else.
Well, we just talked about how rules dictate the training, right? And I agree with them. Like, if you don't have the sumo basics, then all the advanced judo stuff wouldn't help. But when you have this, I think if you have the basics, then you can learn how to apply your judo to the sumo. Because a lot of you don't lose in judo when you get pushed out of the ring. You also don't lose if your knees touch the ground. So, so I think it's a little different, definitely.
Yeah. So the main story is about him becoming a proper sumo player again. And there's a cool story about like how he meets this hostess girl and stuff. And she's his girlfriend, but not his girlfriend. And she does some bad stuff to him. But towards the end of the show, she kind of seems like
you're spoiling it for me, huh?
I'm trying not to. But he meets this girl and it's like that, blah, 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 yakashmakity. And then there's a news reporter. Okay. There's two news reporters that I don't know if they're in charge of that stable or just cover that stable. But there's one news reporter. He's the main guy for the sports section. That's huge in the sumo. He's like, does these sumo stories. He loves sumo. And he brings another news reporter with him. She's been kind of like demoted. She does political stories, but something happened. I don't want to talk about it. I don't like to talk about it, but something happened. So she gets demoted into the sports section and she's being forced to cover sumo. And at first she's like, she hates it. She can't stand these cocky guys. She gets dirty. And she has this awakening.
The people also remember women aren't allowed to step on the dojo, like the sumo ring, even in the training, the dojo where they train. So she was like all against, she's all against that whole culture, basically.
Yeah. And the way they explain it is that she's from America. And I don't know that she went to college in America or grew up in America or something, but they keep always saying that she's American. So she doesn't understand certain judo culture stuff. There's even certain things about Japanese culture stuff that she doesn't like.
Sumo culture.
Yeah, sumo culture. I'm getting this all confused all episode long. So it has this thing how she always, when she gets threatened or when she gets annoyed, she always says, "Oh, is that harassment? Is that this harassment? Is this that harassment?" And she gets made fun of at work about it. Yep. And then she assaults somebody and no one says anything about that. She literally assaults somebody. But there's also like some weird, in my opinion, some things where you gotta use Japanese culture where being called stupid, being called baka it's bad, but it's not like super bad as like I guess you've said in America, or being told to go die. It's bad, but it's more just like F off or something. It's not like America where we're like, hey, go die. Like, oh, you want me to kill myself? Oh, how dare you? But in Japanese, it's like, whatever, go kill yourself, Anthony. Hey, that's not nice. So it's just different cultural things. And the shock of her seeing sumo and how they treat each other, how they're really rough and tumble guys, how they palm each other, how they hit each other, how when you're a lower rank, you have to do things for the higher ranks and stuff, which I know some people, when they first see this, if you're not used to Japanese culture and you're not used to sumo culture at all, there are going to be some eye-opening things. You're like, what? That's allowed? And just like in the show, she's the same thing. What? That's allowed? This is modern day and this still happens? But this is sumo culture, and it's just
that's actually why sumo, like, it's popular now. But when I was growing up in Hong Kong and I go to Japan all the time, I remember them talking about how sumo is dying because there's the what do you call it? The seats don't fill up, and they'll have people outside trying to get people to come in to watch sumo wrestling, and the tickets were dirt cheap, and in some cases they would even give them away for basically free. But now it's like all jam packed. It's always sold out, the seats. So there's a huge change, but there's a reason why a lot of Japanese people, other than the declining birth rate, right, don't do judo and sumo as much anymore. It's because of the hazing culture and how hard it is. And which is why they have a lot of people from Mongolia, because they're coming from a poor country, you know, to it's like similar to most other combat sports, like why Thai kids fight in Thailand, fight Muay Thai, is because they're poor. It's a way out of poverty. So it's that's why they import a lot of Mongolians from Mongolia to do sumo.
And there's some really cool side stories. Like there's one story about a guy. It's called I always remember as Two-Face, because that's what he calls him during the entire show. How he kind of has a really dark backstory and why he's the monster he is, why he fights he is, the way he acts is, why he doesn't talk. And that's a really cool side story. Then there's another side story about another guy, Ryuki.
The Ozeki. Yeah.
Yeah, the Ozeki. The guy who just got promoted to Ozeki. He's the new hot guy, the new hot thing and stuff. And it deals with him and his pressure of being so much so good.
His dad was his dad's the Yokozuna, the highest rank.
Yeah.
So he had to live up to his name and everything. So
yeah, so they show like, even though he seems like in the public, they show like in the public he has it all together, but at home he's just like getting bullied by his dad. And my thing is like, if he's an Ozeki, why is he still staying at home living with his dad still? You know, that's my thing. But that's my own opinion about certain things. Okay.
Yeah. I think,
so, and if you don't know if you don't know the sumo rankings, how like they're going to talk about during the show, is that so the top of sumo, there can only be one. The top of sumo is a Yokozuna.
There can be more than one. In fact,
I thought there could be only one.
In recent history, there's been four.
There can only be one.
There's been four at the same time in recent history.
Four?
Yes.
It
was Kakuryu, Harumo Fuji, man, forget. This thing is getting to me. Hakuho and the last one. I said Kakuryu already, right?
Yeah.
Kiseno Sato. The Kiseno Sato was the only native Japanese Yokozuna, and his promotion to Yokozuna is actually one of the main reasons why sumo became popular again in Japan, because it's like, wow, it's the first Japanese Yokozuna in like 30 or 50 years or something like that. But
about 50 years, but maybe 30, but it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. I don't remember. It's like 30 to 50 years, somewhere around that time frame. But those are the four that were around. And I will say, I always talk about this, but Hakuho, who recently retired, as in like last year, half a year, 6 months ago or something, he is like, I'm so glad I got to see sumo while he was in his prime, because he just made everyone else look like a high school amateur. And I started watching sumo in his prime. So for me, it was like, wow, why does everyone suck so bad? It's like, no, he's just so dominating. So, and then he sets such a high bar for Yokozuna that when I saw the other Yokozuna, I was not impressed as a amateur at the time watcher. But then Kakuryu retired because he was getting old. And then Kiseno Sato was forced to retire because he tore his pectoral muscle, his chest muscle, went to get was doing bad, went to get surgery, disappeared for a long time, came back and was never the same. So he retired. And Harumo Fuji got caught in which is related to this about the hazing. He got caught in a scandal where he hit a junior person with a remote. So basically now we only have one Yokozuna, which is Teruno Fuji.
Yeah. So I want to get back to that because I want to talk about that earlier, because I think he's the one that had the thing with Ryzen, I think it was. But okay, so there's Yokozuna, there's Ozeki, which I thought there could be. So I thought there was only one Yokozuna, but I heard there could be more. And when it comes to Ozeki, I thought there could be 4 Ozeki. It's actually there's sometimes, if you look at the media out there, when they say the top rank of sumo, they'll actually sometimes refer to Ozeki as the top rank, because they consider Yokozuna as something mystical, like a god figure kind of thing. Yeah. So we will see some other places say, "Oh, Yokozuna is the top rank," but no, it's like there's the Ozeki, Komusubi, Sekiwake, Magashira. Like there's the top ranks, and then there's a Yokozuna. And to be a top rank, like Anthony said, like there's the Sekiwake, whatever they're called, and the whatever that other one is, I can't remember that
Komusubi,
name. Yeah. Komosumi and stuff. Like those are the top ranks right there. But if you reach, like I know some people are like, oh, what's that one someone was trying to tell me about the other day? It was a Rikishi. They're like, well, what's the Rikishi rank?
Rikishi is just sumo wrestler. Just saying, sumo wrestler.
It's supposed to be like top 14 or top 15. I thought something like that. I thought like supposed to be
maybe it's kind of like
the top players only.
Maybe it's kind of like how we loosely use the term judoka for anyone that trains judo, but I think you have to be like living a certain lifestyle to be called the judoka. So it might be similar. I'm not sure. But for me, a rikishi is just any sumo. Is just saying a wrestler, sumo wrestler. So for me, it's that.
So in the show, like it's talking about all these ranks and stuff, and I'm trying to build up to get to these higher ranks. So it's really cool. It's a really cool show that way, and it brings up to me is that if we had, and there's some side stories about how there's their best guy in the dojo, and their best guy in their little dojo, not their little dojo, but kind of little dojo in their place. like him having to deal with his retirement soon, or him dealing with his stuff about him having a bad injury and him running away from his surgery. Because the whole worry is like, it is for anybody. Once you have surgery, they always say that it's going to be the same. You're going to be better. You'll be bigger, stronger, faster. The reality is that you're really never the same. And I've been told by multiple doctors, because of my own injuries, don't get surgery until you need it. Okay. Because once you do certain things, once you get certain surgeries, you won't be able to. I know there's be somebody probably out there right now be like, no, I did this surgery. I'm the same. It's like, I've been told by multiple doctors certain things. You'll never be the same. It's not going to be 100% ever, no matter how much they tell you.
I'm still doing rehab for my surgery. Like it comes and goes. Like it's not always, some days it feels great. Some days it doesn't feel great. Most days it doesn't. So that's really cool. That's a really interesting side story. Also in the show about this, I can't remember what your ranking he was, but him having to deal with like, I might have to retire soon. What am I going to do? If I get surgery, am I going to stop? So it's a really cool story. One thing that people was thinking that, let's go back now to the guy that slapped the guy. Okay. Because that's a big part in this show. They actually mimic that in the show at one of the points. He hit him with a TV remote at a karaoke place.
He deserved it. I know we argue about this. We argue since we wants to get angry.
I think in Japanese culture, he did deserve it. Like, I'm saying like he disrespected him in a certain way because he's a senior.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's okay, obviously, but I guess within the sumo culture, it's like, oh, you guys are overblowing it.
I know. Cliff notes of this thing that happened. They were out. Rikishi was talking to him. He was not listening to him. He was on his phone playing Candy Crush or something. I don't know what. Just he wasn't paying attention. So he hit him with the remote. All right. Yep. And he did it in public, which got some scrutiny. He got yelled at about it. It was like, this is disrespectful. I know in Western culture here, people were talking about like he hit his manservant. It's like, no, it's not his manservant. This is like his kohai. This is like his student. This is supposed to be his second kind of like, this is a guy that they wanted to like help him out and teach him. You're being disrespectful. But I think that if you know sumo culture or Japanese culture, Asian culture, anything, you understand that that's disrespectful and they're going to give him some capital punishment, which is not popular nowadays. And I get that. We can't capital punishment everybody like you used to.
Yeah. I mean, Japan's still a very conservative society, but you can look at judo. Even judo is reforming, right? In Japan. So it's slowly shifting. And these really old school, especially sumo is like one of the oldest martial arts out there, this whole system and in general, you can't, especially with the now popularity, the explosive international growth of sumo's popularity, like you can't do this stuff and not get people kicking and screaming about it anymore. So I'm not justifying it, but it's like, that's what they have to deal with now. So they have to change. Like even there's so many scandals. Like I'm not going to go into all the scandals since I follow it, but medical, like they don't have medical staff on standby. Like all that kind of stuff is just, they're really backwards, very conservative.
Well, we had the same thing in judo when in the Olympics. I can't remember who it was. One of the people got like a warm up that a lot of martial artists do is that their coach slaps them in the face, slaps them in the body, slaps them in the back and stuff. And that's a normal thing. And it was that thing was the Olympics. Someone was doing that. It was caught on camera. 10,000 people saw it in the West or I don't know what.
It was me. It was a meme at first because the way he slapped her was like basically, well, I can't think of it better. It was like a bitch slap, basically. Like that's the closest way I can describe it for people who aren't seeing.
People freaked out about like, how dare you hit a woman? How dare you hit a student? It's like, dude, have you never seen like how many MMA matches how many MMA fights you see where they do that in MMA? You know, or just it's a normal.
Yeah, but it was not in. You gotta clarify. It was not in that way. But the whole point is it was consensual. That
sounds even worse. It was consensual slapping.
No, because she was like, we do this. I wanted him to do that. It was what the girl came out to say, but the coach got a warning for it anyway. So
yeah, so it's just some weird thing that we do in combat sports that other sports don't. People think is weird. Another thing with that same Yokozuna, I believe was him. He had a thing with. I know we're getting off topic again, but I just want to get this out there. That was kind of weird. He had a thing with Ryzen that he was supposed to bring. I believe it was Ryzen. He was supposed to bring Mongolian, like the top Mongolian fighters, to Ryzen, and he only brought like maybe 3 of them before. I don't know if they ended the contract or what happened, but
I think you're thinking of us to show you, or are you thinking about the other one that that paralyzed someone? Was it that one?
No, I don't think it was him, but just what happened in Ryzen is that. So He's bringing the Mongolian fighters over. This one thing that got me, and I think it got the announce team all weirded out too, is that one guy put on a great fight, amazing fight, but lost the decision. And he was treating him like the rest, like they show him, like he tried to go up to him like, oh, I'm sorry. He ignored him. Then he got up and kind of bumped him with his body and stuff, really mad at him because he lost. Then another Mongolian fighter later that fight won by a terrible, ugly decision, barely squeaked by, like very boring. And he was all like, yeah, good job. Yeah, I'm so proud of you, blah, blah, blah. It's like, this guy put on a great fight. And yeah, he may have lost, but he put his Bushido spirit out there and you're mad at him. But this one right here played it safe, got an ugly win, and you're all happy with that. And there was another fight also. I can't remember what happened on that one, but there was just this very big difference of like, he won happy. He lost, your piece of whatever, get out of here. I think it was him. I think it was that same guy. I don't remember. I should have looked this up because I think it was in Ryzen too. Could have been in Dream, but I think it was Ryzen. I'm pretty sure it's Ryzen, and I think the person you're talking about is it is who I was thinking of. I just looked it up. As Tsuyoshi. Yeah. Oh wait, no. Mm-hmm. What was his Taka Genji was his twin brother, who was also but yeah, they had a bad rap in the sumo circle, and he was the guy who gave a concussion to Enho. Everyone knows Enho, the really small sumo wrestler. He was not slapping. He was basically punching the crap out of his, and gave him a concussion. So yeah, but anyway, he was asked to retire, so that's why he went to Ryzen. He was forced to retire. But yeah, that's another thing that probably freaks. So one thing about the show, like I said, it was a great show, very entertaining, fun to watch, like really great stories. I hope they come up with the second season of it. But there's one thing I watched about the show is that some of these sumo wrestlers weren't as big as real sumo wrestlers. Like the guy that's supposed to be playing the Ozeki, he's not that big. Like he's a big guy, but he's not a sumo wrestler big. You know, I'm expecting really. So some of these extras they had in the show, other sumo wrestlers they had in the stables weren't that big of guys. I'm like, these guys aren't sumo wrestlers. Like even the lead guy, he's big, but he's not sumo wrestler big, you know? So, I mean, we already know how intense the training is for sumo, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, what are the chances you're going to be able to get these guys to do this filming? And also, you're talking about a second season. Like, are they going to quit being sumo wrestlers now and being full-time actors? Like, there's that. And then how many people are you going to find our actors are able to be that big and also do those athletic movements? Like the, what was the stomping called? I forgot. There was Shiki. Was it Shiki? Shiki is yeah. So we're judo players. I'm sorry, we're judo players, not sumo wrestlers. Yeah. So Anthony wants to try it though. Yeah. So how many people out of that big that can actually do those things and look like a actual sumo wrestler? So I think, don't quote me, I think they found retired sumo wrestlers or the guy that plays the actor or the sumo wrestler that plays Two-Face, he was a real sumo wrestler. Yeah. And side note from my wrestling fans out there, he was the one that played the fake Yokozuna for the first Saudi Arabia show. The WWE went to Saudi Arabia. So, little interesting side note. But yeah, he was a real sumo wrestler, and he had the size. I think he had the size. But these other guys, one like playing the Ozeki and stuff, like he's a big, like he looks like a big muscular guy, but not like a sumo wrestler big. And there's one thing about sumo that people don't understand. There's no weight. Well, there's a weight minimum. You have to weigh at least 180 pounds, I believe, in pounds, like 180. But there's no weight. Guys can get as big as they want, and you fight everybody. There's no weight class, no like middleweight, lightweight, heavyweight sumo. Professional sumo, which is this Japanese sumo tournament. Yeah, like the one that you go watch in Long Beach, the World Championships. That's the one that has it's nationals, but even the World Championships, there are weight classes. Yeah, but in real sumo, in real Japanese sumo, it's you go fight everyone. So it's minimum weight you are to the biggest weight you are and stuff. So that might be some weird thing to some people when they first watch this and they're not used to sumo and they see that like, whoa, how's this small guy facing this huge guy? Well, it's always exciting. It's always exciting to see the small people beat big people. Yeah, I know. I like some big boys. I want some big boys, some meat. That's what I want. I want the big ones slapping each other in the face. That's why Hakuho was so cool to watch because he's big, but he's not huge. He's not like the Hawaiian Yokozuna is huge.
And if you look back to I can't Chiono Fuji. There's a Yokozuna that's a small, super jacked guy. He's dead now, I think, but he's like small and super jacked, and he was a Yokozuna. He was smaller. So the you can also look back at the old black and white photos of sumo wrestlers. They're muscular. They're not fat like the way they are now. The fat thing is a relatively modern thing. So.
Well, what happened to like the one that everyone thinks is supposed to be super good? Like he is good, but he's not amazing. Cause the guy from Georgia,
Toshinoshin, he retired. Like that's another.
Did he?
He retired. He got last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago.
Oh my god! I saw him.
He was basically already dropped down to the Judo division, which is no longer the top division, and he was in danger of losing that tournament too. So he was going to get demoted even farther. So he just retired. He has so many injuries. Like that's
well, the thing is, like he's so big, you would think he'd be so dominant, but he's good, but he's not great. But you just think aside, like, man, look at this monster here.
He has really he relied on his strength. He had monstrous strength. He would literally lift people up, not small people, big people. He'll lift them up and forklift them, carry them out.
And
but after.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, he hurt his knee before and he had knee surgery, and then it took him a while to come back, and then he became Ozeki, and then he lost a rank. But there's a gruesome video out there that if you look hard enough, you'll find of him trying to lift someone up, and you see his quad muscle snap. Like, it just curls up. So, so he's pretty done. I'm surprised he's lasted this long, let's just say. So,
yeah. But that's another thing in sumo that some people might not get used to. So, the more wins you get in a row, the higher ranking you get. Like you're allowed to lose and stuff, but the more streaks you go on, that's a higher rank you get. And if you get a high rank, like say you're an Ozeki, if you start losing too many matches in a row or too many matches, period, you can get dropped down. So like you just get like you reach Yokozuna. I'm Yokozuna. Like if you get Yokozuna, I'd be like, I retire. I'm done. I reach Yokozuna.
You're not supposed to do that. That's why. That's one of the things that they determine. That's one of the things that there needs to be a unanimous vote in the council to promote just the elders to promote someone to Yokozuna. So it's pretty hard to become Yokozuna, actually.
Yeah. So that's one thing you might hear about that. Like, oh, he lost, he got demoted. What did that mean? Well, it's kind of like in soccer. Like you get the Premier League, but if you lose that tournament, you're the lower rankings and you get put down to the other leagues, you know? And that's kind of how that's exactly how sumo is. If you lose too many in a row, you get dropped down. If you lose too many, if you have a losing record in a tournament instead of a winning record, you can get dropped down. But if you have a winning record, you always win a bunch in a row.
So you always get moved down and dropped down. We're talking about an upper division, right? I think the regular divisions only have 7 days of sumo.
Yeah, 7 days
or 9 or 7 or 9. I can't remember. But the top division has 15 days. So you need 8 wins to get promoted. So if you get 7 wins, you're getting demoted. If you do really bad, like you only get 1 win or 4 wins, so you get demoted more. If you get 8 wins, you might only go up 1 rank. If you get like 10 wins, you might go 2 ranks up, right? The only difference is Ozeki is the only one where I think you get like, if you lose like 2 or 3 in a row, then you get a warning. Like they call it Kadoban. Whereas like, if you do get another losing record, you can get demoted. That's how it is. And you can't say I got hurt, blah, blah, blah. They just count you as losing all the fights. So yeah. So really interesting.
Sumo is a very interesting thing. I've been watching since I was in probably middle school. It's when in America, ESPN would buy tournaments and put them on like Saturday mornings or Saturday afternoons or Sundays and stuff. Just weird times you just be flipping like, oh shit, sumo. So that's how I got into watching sumo, real sumo, not I don't want to say like it's not real, but the world championships and stuff they have in Long Beach. Yep. I like watching old school guys, not
professional. They just call it professional sumo. Grand sumo. Okay. Grand sumo is what they call it.
Yeah. So
old sumo. I think it's in Japanese.
I think it's really cool. It'll be really nice. It'll be neato if this does help out sumo, popularize it. I know some people when they first see Strongman are going to be a little like weirded out to see how real Japanese and real sumo culture is because they're not sugarcoating it. All right. This is legit stuff here, but this might get people more interested in getting to sumo. And this goes now into what if we had a judo show like this? Would this work out? This was a judo show that was either American or Japanese about a guy that maybe a down and out karate guy or a down and out grappler, maybe someone that used to be an old judo player, not old, but like had a really good young career, kind of stopped in high school, but got back into it. And I'm just pitching stuff, just spitballing. Maybe he gets picked up by a company or something. That
so
do you
think, you know? So I think this is why I was surprised when I watched the first few episodes of Sanctuary. It was because in the first few episodes, they already show how brutal the training is and the hazing that goes on. I'm like, at first I was like, man, the Sumo Association is okay with this and all that kind of stuff. Then I'm like, you know what? They probably think like, yeah, it's like, it's kind of like those judo clubs that are like, they pride themselves on how hard they train and how there's blood on the walls and people get hurt all the time, how hard they train. Like, I'm like, from an outsider, is like, that's messed up. But to them, it's probably like, yeah, we're badass, you know, like,
yeah, badge of honor. We break fingers every day. We break fingers.
Yeah. So it could be like that
once a week.
It could be like that, or they're just like, well, sumo's already pretty popular. This will just make it even more popular for viewership. Maybe not for training, but not to recruit people, but it might get more people to view it. So there's that. So I'm just wondering, if they came out with a similar show with a similar plot for judo, let's assume Sanctuary. Let's assume Sanctuary was about judo and not sumo. Like this, we didn't have a show about sumo before, and we had judo straight up. Like, do you think that would help? I would think like people would be like, wow, they actually do that to kids. Like they actually make you like do all this messed up stuff. Like I would not be turned on to try judo at all.
And I will say this, there are no kids in the show. The kids scenes, they don't show any kids. This is adults doing judo, adults doing sumo. It's kind of making judo. The adults doing sumo. Even the actor that's supposed to be playing like early 20-year-old guy. Do you know how old that actor was? I looked it up because I wanted to.
He's like 40, right?
He's 37.
Yeah.
This boy's 37 and playing it just out of high school kid. Get the out of here. All right.
Well, if you look at the big sumo wrestlers in high school, they're pretty big, you know, just like the big judo players in high school. They're pretty, they look like they're huge.
Yeah. But it's just a thing that I hope this promotes sumo and stuff. Maybe it gets more pop in Japan. Maybe it gets more popular around the world. And if we had something like this, that if it was a Japanese-based show, it'd be like, oh, is this Japanese training? Is it the same in the US? Will it get people interested in going to a dojo? Because we can't do that kind of stuff in the US. You know,
sumo has been growing. Well, sumo has been growing. Well, you're talking about the hazing, but sumo has been growing in the US. Yeah. There's more clubs opening. I've seen it. Some of my friends train there. And I know Americans would love it because they like action. Like think about think about what happens in American football, right? It's short burst of action and sumo is pretty close to American football. I'm going to say, if you ignore the throwing the ball part, but the defensive linemen, and the pads charging each other
and the field,
defensive linemen charging each other like that, and like short 20 seconds of action. It's pretty similar to sumo. So I think that's actually why it's growing in popularity. And why hasn't it grown in popularity this whole time? Like before that, I think it's because of the rules. Like it was really unclear what's happening. Like I remember at first I'm like, wow, they're still staring off. Why are they going back to the corners? Why are they sprinkling salt over and over and over again? Why are they like lining up? Why are they doing the whole rings thing? And why are they stomping? Why don't they just charge already? Why is this taking 8 minutes? You know, like
I love that. I love the little dance part. It's like one of my favorite parts of the sumo match.
No, now that I understand why they do it, and also when I started to when it clicked for me is when you see false starts where they had to reset because someone charged before. Like it's a whole mind game. That whole staring down thing. It's like you look at their stance. You're also practicing kind of like uchikomis, like getting ready on how you're gonna plan an attack. And then when you do, sometimes you fake it, try and get the other guy to false start so you can see what he was planning to do in the first place. So now it's like, okay, is he going to do the same thing or like, was that a fake to get me to do this? I learned to appreciate that a lot. And then you understand the rules, like at first I was like, oh, I didn't know the slapping on the face was like that. Like, I knew it was allowed, but I didn't know it was like that. So
well, there was an old saying that before MMA, sumo was the most brutal martial art there was to do.
I still think sumo was more brutal than MMA, like personally.
Yeah. Well, that's what the old saying was, like the sumo, like the old day they said the most brutal martial art was sumo, because you got guys that are weighing 200 plus pounds or 300 plus pounds going at each other full blast, no pads, no braces. Not supposed to be wearing braces, I believe. No pads, no braces, going full blast at each other with their bodies, and they're allowed to open hand palm strike this out of each other.
Yeah,
and I believe
basically.
And are headbutts still legal or are they illegal?
Well, I think it's technically illegal, but there's no benefit to doing it. So there's, as far as I know, the only thing
it's the whole thing of like, to me, it's just when you go head first charging, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it happens. And you see people get knocked out that way. So the only thing that I know that's illegal, as far as I know, is small joint locks, like finger lock, or joint locks from small finger manipulation, grabbing the top knot, and closed palm strikes.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I don't think there's any better. Like, the rule itself, like, yeah. So it's pretty brutal. It's common to see blood everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think if you understand the rules, then you're like, oh wow, this is freaking cool. Like, and they didn't do a good job of explaining the rules in the past, because Japanese being Japanese, you know, they take down anything that's like promoting their culture, basically. Like, if you guys play games, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Nintendo. If you read manga, you know what I'm talking about. Like the way that they're licensing stuff is just backwards. They're saying they don't want, and also if you're in the 90s and early 2000s, you try to buy Japanese cell phones, you can't buy it. Mm-hmm. Like even now, you can't buy Japanese cell phones. If I wanted to buy one, you need a Japanese address to buy one. Like, without going too far in the topic, I was thinking about going to Japan in October. If you want to use the mobile function of using the transit pass, you have to have an iPhone, because it has a special chip, because Apple only makes one version of the iPhone that gets shipped throughout the world. But if you use Android, you have to buy a phone from Japan to use the mobile function. There's just this, Japanese is always like, we're going to do things this way, and then you guys can't have it. Like, it's really weird. Like, so even sumo,
it's like old school when like you had to play a Japanese video game on your PlayStation, you had to get a Japanese PlayStation, you know?
Yeah.
Even up to like PlayStation 3, like region 1, region 2, all generation, or all region BS.
I don't want to turn it into like a whole talking about Japanese businesses and corporations being backwards in terms of fair use and licensing structures and stuff. But basically, I think it was when Twitch and Reddit came out, and someone I think for me it was someone posted about a brutal clip on MMA subreddit. And I saw it. I'm like, wow, I didn't know they can do that. And then someone started streaming regular sumo tournaments on Twitch. And then NHK started to have this Grand Sumo highlights where they explain the rules and all that kind of stuff. That's when I started, all that combined, and started to appreciate sumo. And I noticed everyone else has started to watch it. So that exploded its growth. And I think if you want America to be popular with judo, no one says you have to have a homegrown judoka well, clearly we have few Olympic medalists that didn't grow judo. But if you're talking about making a show, I don't think it has to be a show. You just have to show international sumo or Japanese international sumo. I'm doing what you're doing. International judo or Japanese judo, and make it more palatable and present it properly to the culture. To the audience in a good way. And that's what the Grand Sumo highlights did, was that they cut out all the stalling and showed just the highlights. So you can do that with sumo. With judo. With judo, but I'm not talking about just highlights you see on YouTube. I'm talking about people explaining the grip fighting and like what's going on, and like why this wasn't a score, that was a score, and then like the rivalry that happened between all this, and then like even the Teddy Riner drama that we just talked about. Like, what's the impact on that? Why is that a big deal? Like, all this will work. And then I think combining that with the drama series, because that's the next thing you want to talk about was the F1 drama, right?
Well,
like,
yeah. So if we made Sanctuary Judo edition, Sanctuary Judo, so that'd be great. That'd be fantastic to make it into a drama to grow Judo. But something that has been effective in growing a sport here in the US, that's huge in Europe, it's big in Asia, but it hasn't really caught on in the US, even though it's been around for years. And I like watching it, is Formula One. And this is another Netflix show called Drive to Survive. And this is an all access backstage look at Formula One racing. They have cars, they have a camera in the cabin and stuff. They have like backstage stuff, people talking. They have things about people talking about their contract and who they're going to get next season, what they're going to do next year. Like it is like seriously really super in depth. And because of this show that's being so popular on Netflix, so popular in the US, the F1 actually had a meet in, God, I want to say it was Florida. I'm not sure where it was exactly off the top of my head now, but actually had a meet here.
Austin. They had one in Austin.
Was it Austin?
Ago. They had one in Austin, and then they had another one in Long Beach, I think it was.
Well, that's that one. But I'm telling you, there's another one they had. That was a different one. But yeah, they have the Long Beach one every year. Yeah, there is that one. But I think there was a big one they had in Florida. I was supposed to be like this new.
They were in the Circuit of Americas in Austin when I lived there. So
yeah, but so they had this show, and it's like really blowing up F1 racing here in the US. It's making it more popular. People are staying up late because that's one thing about just like judo. They don't care about what the time is in America. The race happens in Europe at the time it happens. The race happens in Asia at the time it happens. It happens, So with a show that's like Drive to Survive, but based in judo here for the US audience or for the English speaking audience, it could be translated in other language and stuff. Would that help grow judo worldwide, or at least here in the US? That's always our main thing here because we're an American-based show, we're American-based stuff. Would it grow judo here in the US, do you think? Man, because I think they're bringing stuff also. They have stuff similar to this in Japan already, but they don't translate it. They don't bring it outside to the US. It is only like for NHK or for them out there.
You have to make it interesting. Like it doesn't matter if the idea is good. If the person producing it doesn't make it interesting, then it's not going to be interesting. Just like most reality, it's basically what you're describing as a reality show. And a lot of the reality shows out there have fake drama. Like I'm not going to get into like Terrace House because there was a sad story there, but I don't watch Terrace House because of the fake drama. Exactly. But the reason I grew up watching F1 abroad. It was popular in Hong Kong. The reason I stopped watching it and lost interest many years ago is because of there's the stupid rules. but unlike judo has stupid rules too, but unlike judo, I can train judo at the local level, ignoring those stupid rules. I can't drive an F1 car. Like
you can't. You didn't buy an F1 car and just drive around.
Buy an F1 car and race around town. Yeah, so that's why I lost interest in it. The rules, without getting too much specifics, is basically around the safety rules and the what do you call it? The cars, on the limitations on the technologies allowed to cars. I lost interest in it. I haven't watched it in decades. And then when the Drive to Survive thing happened, I didn't watch it because I know exactly what was going to happen, which did happen.
What happened? What happened?
If I remember correctly, that was the show where the first season they had they showed all the open communications on the radio. Yes, and it showed how fucking incompetent they were. And then they decided not to do that again. Why you cursing so much?
Language, young man. Language.
Well, you can see how much I liked F1 basically at one point. I'm like, it's like a better divorce, But yeah, it just showed how dumb it was, like how incompetent and how some of the rules in colleges made absolutely no sense. And I think Lewis Hamilton versus, I forgot the guy's name, Max, whatever. Like if you go back and read why that guy beat Lewis Hamilton, it was just stupid. And then it's just, yeah. So if that happens, it would turn off people like me. But to some people, it's like, oh, wow, this is interesting because there's so much drama. Then you're no longer watching it for the judo. You're just watching it for the drama, right?
But here's the thing about it. if it does happen, here's the thing about with F1 that's happened so far is that some of those things that come on the show and get showed put light on it, and they're forcing the changes. So in judo, if more people were watching, had more light on it, would that force the IGF to change or the refs to change or make?
They'll change it for the worse, is what I think it would be.
For worse.
They'll change it for the worse, is what I think it will be. So, yeah, no, I think I'm not saying no. If someone if it was up to me, like, hey, we want to make a Drive to Survive thing, but for judo, I'll be like, yeah, let's do it. Like, but
Randor to survive.
Yeah, throw to survive. Throw to survive. That's what I'm going to label this episode. By the way, throw to survive. Anthony throws to survive. But but I think we talked about any media is good. Like even the anime we talked about, I don't think it had much impact. Mainly because it's not that because the medium didn't work. It's because the show just did not attract the right audience, I guess. Like you need to make something like Haikyuu, like what I said, like I talked about before, like the shonen, like what do you call it? Hot-blooded springtime of youth kind of.
I want Dragon Ball and Judo geese, all right?
Exactly. So it's borderline or even over the line superpowers. Right.
I know kids are gonna like the one on Naruto, and that's too old now. I need what's that anime with the guy that keeps the girl in his backpack?
Keeps growing his backpack?
Keeps the girl in his backpack.
Keeps the girl in his backpack. I don't know what you're talking about.
The one that guy with the checkered, he wears a black and green checkered thing.
I have no idea.
We went to go look at it in Little Tokyo.
Oh, man. Demon Slayer?
Demon Slayer. I need a Demon Slayer.
Yeah, but that's not a sports. That's not a sports thing. I'm talking about like
popular.
I'm talking about Slam Dunk, like Haikyuu, Kuroko no Basket, like all of them have like a whole one like camaraderie kind of feel to it. And then like teamwork, and then like how to never give up, like all the cheesy formula that works is there. And then they pick this one because it's one of the few. I'm not saying I love the anime, by the way, but I don't think it was the right one to promote judo in the international sense. So,
I need great Aki the Grappler in a judo gi. All right.
I mean, I think Baki would be nice too. Yeah, there was a few judokas in there.
Yeah. Well, one thing I love about Baki, this is me. I love about Baki is how almost every character in the thing is based off a real person. That's what I love. When I first started watching and reading Baki, that's what I liked about it. But yeah, so there's just something that's out there. The Sanctuary show, it's fun. It's really cool. If you do check it out, I hope you enjoy it. I hope people don't get too weirded out by like how strict they are, the way they train, or the way the culture is. This is just how Japanese culture is. It's how, like, you may hate to hear it, but it's kind of like how the Japanese judo team probably does the exact same thing, except we're on the mats and we're much cleaner. We're not rolling the dirt. But would this help out if it was a judo thing? Would it get more people out doing?
Yeah, judo? I want to hear what people think. If they made a sanctuary for judo, basically, or two questions, right? Sanctuary for judo, and then throw to survive. So,
what would do better? Would throw to survive do better, or would sanctuary judo do better? You know.
So, yeah, imagine they did throw to survive, and then we get to hear what the IJF refs talk about in the headset.
Oh, I would love that. I would love to hear what they're saying and talking about.
I would pay $100 a year to watch that. So
I would pay it. No, I wouldn't pay that much. I would pay $100 a year.
I'll pay $100 and buy NFTs.
And buy NFTs.
Buy more NFTs for it.
I would love to hear what the refs are saying in their earpiece. I was like, hello, someone tell me, is that an Ippon Wazari?
Say, is that Putin? Hello?
Oh man, delete that footage right now. All right, so Anthony, is there anything else you want to talk about Judo TV or Judo anime or anything else out there?
No, I think that was a long episode. We covered, like I said, even though I'm going to name this Throw to Survive, hopefully, I guess it's kind of clickbait thing, I guess. But like, since we've talked about other stuff more, but yeah, I think this was the main topic of the episode anyway, so it's fine. Yeah.
Well, I think this part of the episode is at least 40 minutes long itself.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. All right. So like always, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow us at Tatami Talk on Instagram. You can follow Tatami Talk on YouTube, our YouTube channel. You can also send us emails at tatamitalk@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram at @Jerry_1. You can follow Anthony on Instagram at Anthony Throws. You can follow us on our new TV show, Throw to Survive. No, I'm just joking. We don't have that just yet. We might trademark one day, maybe. You don't know. We might produce it.
Oh, speaking of which, the Judo movie. You want to talk about that briefly? The update.
Not really. I want to come out when there's more stuff about it out.
Okay. All right. We'll
but that's a little thing right there. For people who don't know, in the future, our dojo had a hand in training somebody for a new up and coming judo movie. When the movie comes out, we'll talk more about it. And when there's a trailer out, we'll probably talk about when the full trailer comes out, I think. Yeah. Which I think
that will be a good litmus test for whether what we talked about today. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. So. Yeah, so that's all there. I did all of our hashtags and everything. All of our
I don't think we did, but it's fine. Everyone understands now.
Did we?
Yeah.
Whatever. Look for us, Tatami Talk, like always. All right. And with that, Anthony, don't forget to
watch Throw to Survive.